try to answer your questions as best we can. If there's something that we can't exactly answer, we'll make a note and try to get the answer. We're not bankruptcy attorneys, any of us. That means we're not going to have exactly all the answers, but we will tell you what we can. If you do have a question, there is Kent is out there with a microphone. And when you get the microphone, that question, we'd like to get your name and your member number. Okay, so we can just kind of make sure that we're used to working with our members. Plus, we may need, I got this over. We need some accountants. All right, Brian. All right, so we'll call this to order. We're going to go through the introduction of the board members, a little opening comments, talk about points of contact after the event's over. Then we're going to go through the 3 options that were included in your letter, these questions and answers, and then we'll talk about a voting process. That's what the agenda is all about. All right. So the board of directors are myself, the president, John O'Brien, the vice president currently, Chase Armour, the treasurer, Stedstrom on my right, your left, the secretary. Oh, you want them to stand up? Okay, Dick Stedstrom, secretary for the board. And then we've got D.T. Martin, director, Walter Kemp, and Tom Berenson, Daniel Clapp, and Jerry Thomas is not here tonight. So that is your current 2023 board. So on the right side, you'll see that John O'Brien will not be coming back to join us. And let's see what Dick said. Oh, and Dick Stenstrom is done. So we've then added on Kent Fowler, who is out there with a microphone. Where you at, Kent? Right here. I'm sorry. I think we're out in the crowd already. And then I know nobody, I'll introduce it for the first time. Bill Armstrong down on the end there is back on the board again. So the officer positions are not with those meetings because we will decide those at the next meeting on the, I think our meeting's on the 28th or 29th of this month. So, all right, points of contact. This is the best way to go. Reach out to myself if you have more questions. Bill O'Brien, Chase Armour, or the front office at Tina, who can forward it to us. We are, for those of you that do get up and put your name and number out on the microphone, we are videotaping the whole thing here. Jake Atkins is back there videotaping it, and the idea here is that we've got a huge turnout, but we were debating whether we needed to have 1 town hall or 2 town halls, and so we thought if we could get a lot of people, the first one, answer all of the questions, get it on a videotape, and create a link on the internet for the website that people would then be able to go back and watch it, or people that weren't able to attend would be able to watch it, and that'll keep the process moving along. So that's what we're after there. So let's jump right into it. Again, I would like to keep things on track. So talking about an option here, let's try not to get off on tangents about memberships and stuff like that, because we'll lose focus of what we're after. So I'm doing the basic talking here, and I'm not going to last forever. If we have questions that are relative to the bankruptcy itself, John O'Brien is going to field those questions. If we're talking about the finances of the club, Chase Armour is going to answer those questions. So the first option that you saw in the letter you got was drastically cut club services and amenities to balance the 2024 budget. So that would mean if we put this vote out, if you vote for this, it's to adopt a balanced budget with the available funding that will require large cuts in the club amenities and services while having a negative impact on the golf course conditions. So that is, we've thrown together a draft budget that we will most likely adopt at the next board meeting, because by the bylaws we need to adopt a budget, and it will be the one that is this budget, so we know it doesn't look pretty. It's a 15% reduction in the 2024 budget, which is predominantly in personnel. From a golf attendance standpoint, we could see impact in cart services, pro shop, driving range, tennis court, cleaning, reduced use of the courses. May even have to shut one course down on a regular basis so that all the what left we have in the way of crews can get on that course and get it fixed while the other one's being used. Because you all know if you've been out there when they're mowing and we're playing, they're stopping all the time. So food and beverage, we would certainly have a reduction in operating days, 6 days down to 5, maybe less, reduced hours, closing the turn, and probably no rovers. Grounds, reduced maintenance levels for mowing, bunkers, green surrounds, etc. Admin, office staff was, I think anybody that tries to do an event around your nose, it's a skeleton crew up here already. But if you look at trying to cut 15% of those people, it's like, how do you do that? I mean, what they need is twice as many as what they have. Club functions, limited facility hours, and then eventually, this is going to lead us into bankruptcy. So what you're basically talking about is this option, or the next option we'll go into. This one definitely gets into bankruptcy because we're not going to last financially. So, move on. I guess we should answer questions, or is there already? Just keep going, run through them. Okay. Option 2 is increase the dues by at least 20%, balanced budget effective immediately. The vote would be to eliminate the 5% cap on the increase in membership dues in order to achieve the revenue necessary to maintain the current levels of services. This would require the increase in golf dues of about $150 a month and social dues about $25 a month, or an amount to reduce the impact of the limited funds. And so what that means is that may not be a full 20%. The impact on that is you would have to waive the cap of the dues will fund the current operations. Waive the 12-month restriction, which allows us to make a January 1st implementation. If not, we can't raise the dues until April 1st. Waived permanently, we could do that in the vote, put that in there that it gets waived permanently so we don't have to go through this again, or is this just going to be a one-time deal? We'll most likely lose members. The amount is extremely hard to calculate. Waiving the cap to fund operations will still not provide any new amenities for the club. It won't get us full gymnasium, community center, any upgrades to the existing infrastructure. A balanced budget will only be to pay for the essentials. We'll have nice essentials, we'll have good golf courses and stuff, but there won't be any extra money to do extra things. And then the lease from 2024 through October 2028, which cannot be maintained without a waiver of the cap. We just won't get there. And if we can't maintain the courses, then what's going to happen is the landlord has the right to then step in and say, we can hit the lease right now. And then we're back to bankruptcy. Option 3 is to just outright declare bankruptcy and sell the lease to an entity that will make operational capital improvements. The only assets that we really have, most people don't understand this, we really don't own anything here. We have a liquor license. The liquor license belongs to the club. The carts, we renewed a lease purchase agreement this last time around, so we're now doing payments on those over 3 or 4 years, so along those. The equipment leases for all the mowers and all equipment, you see how golf courses are on leases through us, pro shop inventory, and then the lease on the club through October 2028. So that's the only assets we have. We don't own the tables, the chairs, the forks, and the plates inside the restaurant even. If we walk away from this, that all stays here. We do have 2 loans out there. One is the SBA loan that we got back during COVID. It was for, I think, $105,000, and we got a CSD loan to fix water situation over on 10 South. And that was for right at $100,000 a week. I probably have a balance plus 70 on that, I think. So then, as anybody that was at the annual meeting saw, F&B settlement, we've went from between 7 and 8 million down to, through mediation, down to $420,000. Insurance is going to cover a portion of it. And then they're willing to let us make payments for $10,000 a month, effective, which would not take effect until mid-2024.
That one over the book that name C.
Say that.
Why do look at the
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Food and beverage. Oh, they want to explain the settlement? Oh, okay, I can get what you're saying. They want to know what the lawsuit was. It's like talking to my wife, I didn't understand. We're going to let them.
So yeah, interesting story. The day that I came down here to the counting of the votes to find out if I had been elected to the board, I got called into the general manager's office and he told me that day that we had been served with a lawsuit for $6.8 million for waging out, basically employees not taking their breaks. And this came from a disgruntled employee that, for other reasons, was unhappy about some things in terms of her manager and how the board at the time handled it. She contacted an attorney and they said, well, that's all great, but that's not that much money. Let's talk about when you took your breaks, how they were recorded, and going that out, because obviously that's a lot more for the attorneys. Interestingly enough, I had a conversation with my cousin who's in the club in the East Bay today. And they just got hit with the same lawsuit. Fortunately, they have a lot of money, so they're probably going to have to pay it and not be able to negotiate it down to $400,000 because we were able to show them we had the money. But basically, my understanding of what happened is there was a point years ago in the union contract where it was agreed that we would pay the employees for their 30-minute breaks. Right? So even though they have to take a state mandated 30-minute break, it was just a part of a perk within the contract that they would be paid for it. Well, payroll at the time told them, hey, it'd be a lot easier for us if you just didn't check out. Because that way the 30 minutes would be on your time card to go ahead and pay for the time card, and it all works out. Like, you were due the break, you were here, etc. Unfortunately, HR at the time didn't realize that doesn't work in terms of being able to prove that they took their breaks. So when we got hit with this lawsuit, we went back and looked at the records. We realized we had absolutely no records to show that those breaks were actually taken, even though everyone you talk to that's been around agrees that they were, that people were taking their state breaks, and it wasn't like we were running the sweatshop here where we're making people work straight through. But since we had absolutely no chance of defending in court, our attorney told us it cost us $250,000 to take it to court, and we would lose 100% of the time because we had the record. So really what we had to do is just go back through mediation and show them our financials and say, hey, you're finding a well that's already dry, there's no money here. And we ended up settling, and the reason we needed to settle, because we'll get into this, the bankruptcy, but the Chapter 11, Subchapter 5 requires that the total liabilities be under $7.5 million. And so if we have this wage and hour lawsuit outstanding, if they're still suing us for $6.8 million, we maybe don't come in under that $7.5 million, and everything we're talking about today is not an option. But by settling it for $400,000, we're now setting a specific limit, so we may be able to go down this path that we're discussing today and hopefully get the vote.
And where the water out in the
It goes to the attorneys, who will then, keep a big portion for expenses, et cetera, and all of our past employees will probably get
about such bitter and the illegal collocation.
I hope that all makes sense to everybody. That's the short version. All right, so then option 3 benefits, and this is a reminder again on the bankruptcy itself. So asset is the most valuable that it will be here for the next 5 years, which is the clubs. We have the support of our landlord on this. That is a benefit to us right now. They're definitely very willing to work with us because they would like to see the club be sustainable as well. It's good for the club, it's good for the community, it's just generally a good thing. The deal would secure extra funds from our creditors. The members get an improved, professionally run golf course now rather than 5 years from now. That means running through the lease. There are currently attractive buyers that are interested. It may not be the case in the future. There's no guarantees moving forward. We can show the buyer growth and development in the community. Right now, Rancho Murieta looks like an attractive place to invest. A lot going on out here. Shopping centers across the street. Homes are finally being built out here again. We can show the buyer an improvement in membership due to marketing efforts this year. Show some love could get full membership. An investment of time and money, which is something that hasn't been happening really in the last few years. There has not been an aggressive attempt to try to secure new members all the time. Some of the efforts that Shake's in charge of the membership committee has shepherded this year have worked to get us more members. And new owners will have new owners that can invest in the outdated infrastructure, upgrade the courses, and add the amenities we would want. All right, this is back to Chase here.
All right, well, I mean, we can go into as much detail as people want to. I mean, it's obviously no secret the club has struggled financially. I mean, you know, it's not that many years ago we were having the same discussion, right, about club possibly declaring bankruptcy. Of course, that was going to be, you know, full Chapter 11, a lot more expensive, or trying to sell RMCC, us as an entity, to another buyer. And that, you know, it just wasn't going to work because the financials didn't work. The potential trailing liability, things like the wage and hour lawsuit, right? Could you imagine that if somebody came in here and bought us, RMCC, they would be on the hook for that liability. And unlike us, they wouldn't be broke. So that would be a lot of money that potentially be going out. So that's a big detriment. If it wasn't for the COVID funds, I mean, we received a lot. Eric talked about the SBA loan that came in. We had the Paycheck Protection Program money. We had the Employee Retention Tax Credit money. I mean, we've seen a huge influx, and that has allowed us to do a lot of the repairs and things that needed to be done. Because there's always something around here breaking. I mean, it's the, you know, the liability of the deferred maintenance is just mind-boggling, and every time you think you're getting ahead, something breaks that's really expensive. And so that's the challenge that we've been facing. And then you throw in, you know, we come out of COVID and things are finally starting to work, and then we had inflation that's running really high. I mean, at first it was all the cost of goods, right? Everything in the 19th hole, all the material that we have to put on the golf course was all going up way more than the 5% that we were able to raise dues. And then the next year, it was all labor contracts. All the labor contracts came due. Of course, they're all expecting cost of living adjustments that are in line with inflation, which is way more than the 5%. So it's just, everything was just eroding our financial situation. And so, you know, you can see in 2022, the operating loss of -$478,000. We did have the capital improvement money, which helped to offset that to an extent, but again, it's that capital improvement money. It's not even keeping up with the deferred maintenance issues. Here in 2023, that loss increased, and you know, projecting out, it's just really hard to make it work. You know, we went from at the end of 2022, 535,000 roughly cash on hand. Today we're sitting at 319. What this doesn't show is a big part of that 319 is prepaid dues. It's the people that stepped up and paid their dues for a full year in May when we were needing to do the improvements around storms, and the insurance money hadn't come in, and we were struggling from a cash flow standpoint to be able to fix the pumps on 10 and 11 South and a lot of the other work that needed to be done. So really, you know, if you look at it going forward, that 319,000 is going to get whittled down by money coming off the balance sheet and going into revenue in terms of dues that were already projected in the financial statement. When I sat down with Nona to start coming up with the assumptions for the 2024 budget, I thought they were pretty reasonable. Right? We assumed 5% increase in dues starting April 1st. We assumed that membership would continue to increase as it has this last year. That's a big maybe, right? But we're assuming hopefully we can keep it going. Now bear in mind, last year we did a fundraiser to raise money for marketing to increase membership. We basically went to a lot of the members and said, will you please pitch in? A couple people on the board match those funds so that we could try and get this marketing going. So obviously that's going to require some money too to re-up that contract and try and keep doing social media and other things that's led to that success. You know, maybe if we started this 5-7 years ago, we'd be in better shape. But that really was, when I came on as a membership chair, the membership marketing budget was here. So we have had some success, but and this budget is assuming that will continue. It's assuming that our legal fees will be a lot less, but hopefully we've got some of that behind us. But I'll tell you, my experience is as soon as you think you have one legal issue solved, another pops up. You're being fairly conservative in terms of capital improvements, basically things breaking, things like that, which, again, from experience, we may not be that lucky, but going through it and doing what we thought were pretty reasonable assumptions, that they came out to a budget loss of $680,000. Oh, and I should say that's also assuming, basically inflation rate increases for staff, right? Running at the current rate of inflation. So, if you look at it, if we're sitting on 319,000 in cash up hand, and we're going into a year where we could be burning, potentially 680,000, it's just not going to work. We have to start having these difficult conversations about, what do we do? Do we, cut staffing 15% across the board to try and bring rent down? Get raising dues? How do we make this work? Full well knowing that if we cut amenities, so the cut staffing, cut amenities, we're probably going to lose members. It's going to be a race to the bottom. Right? And the other problem is that we raise dues by a lot. And we've actually seen it every year when we raise dues, we lose a certain percentage of members the next month. So we have a price-sensitive membership. And if we raise dues by 20%, my suspect is we will lose a larger percentage of our membership, and 20% will actually hit with a hole, and we'll be back raising dues again, trying to catch up. And as Eric said, we'll probably end up in the same situation. But fortunately, a lot of work that the board's been doing, and especially John, gave us this third option that we're here to discuss. Okay, and then here's the membership number. So this is kind of interesting, we revamped the prospector and really tried to market outside the community. I went and did a survey of the people moving into our community, and for better or worse, they're not really our golf demographic. I think back in the day, Rancho Murieta was considered a golf destination. People came here, wanted to live here for golf. Now it's not the demographic that we would expect for a golf club, but I think they enjoy all the other great amenities we have, right? The fact that we enjoy our golf carts everywhere, go to Summerfest, go out to the concerts, got the open spaces, the trails, good schools, right? I mean, all great things, but not necessarily a great thing for a golf course if people are coming here for that reason. So we revamped the prospector, really trying to get the price up to a price point where it would actually help us financially, but target people outside the community. And that was part of the social media stuff that we did, some print advertising, etc. Interestingly enough, I think one of the biggest successes of that is one of the main responses that we got to the social media campaign was people saying, I thought you had to live out there to be a member. And so I think there's actually a giant market that has these misconceptions that we have not invested in fighting those misconceptions and bringing membership. But what I learned through this whole process is you can put together a whole plan and you can have a whole structure. It might work out exactly the opposite of what you thought. What I budgeted is that we would see some attrition in full golf membership, and we were going to make up the difference of prospectors, and yet so you can see the opposite happen. As we got out there and we communicated to the broader community around us, there's a market out there, right? People are coming in and they're signing up for the full golf, and you're having prospectors even upgrade. Once we made the price differential smaller between the prospector and the full golf, people chose to upgrade and said, well, why not just become a full golf member? And so even though the prospector went down, you can see the full golf went up, but because there's a pretty good price differential there. It actually, we saw a pretty good, we saw a decent increase in dues revenue. For the first time that I've either been on the board or volunteered on the finance committee. The last, I don't know how many years, and you've seen that number consistently go down. But this is the first time that we can show some growth, and I think we can show that, with some effort, some investment, and a little bit of time, that there is some potential here, especially if a new buyer comes in and is looking at, a typical golf course with, or a golf club with 2 golf courses, you expect to have 700 to 750 members. And the truth is, if we were there right now at our current queue structure, we'd probably be okay. But we've just run out of time to try and get there, right? We started some of these efforts 5 or 7 years ago. Maybe we'd be in pretty good shape, but because of our cash reserves, we're in a tough position. And in terms of social membership, Chantil's done a great job of really promoting, doing a lot of events and promoting the social membership. You know, one of the things we found is price transparency, something that most country clubs don't want to do, right? It's kind of this, we're a country club, we're exclusive, people come to us. Well, that doesn't work, and that definitely hasn't worked for us. One of the things with social membership is just running an ad in the paper saying what the price was. And people came in and said, wow, I can't believe that's all it costs. You know, we tried to do that with golf as well. I mean, I've gone around and asked people that are unaffiliated, asked them, what do you think it would cost to be a full golf and country club? And the answer I get is $1,000 to $1,200 a month. And it's a lot less expensive than that, but the perception is that it's more expensive. So I think a lot of people feel like they're priced out, not even climbing. So I think I think the great opportunity here is we've been able to finally show some growth in membership and there's a process and things that can be done to improve it, that I think is a big part of this equation, because it's something that we show to a potential buyer to show them the potential that we have out here as a club.
So I mean, someday, you know, the last thing that we're in the cloud and you can like, go ahead, John.
Well, part of the problem is what Chase is explaining, is that the club appears to be in such good condition. I mean, I think we can all agree that the golf courses are playing really well now, and we're all enjoying our golf experience. But behind the scenes, we've been having to do so much with so little. It's in great shape right now, but behind the scenes, we're really struggling financially, and I'm just so tired after being on board for 3 years and watching what's been going on for the last 10 or so. I'm just tired of the status quo and trying to just tread water. That email was really to try and summarize what our basic position is, that we're just treading water right now. We've done a lot to get the golf courses back from the abysmal shape they were in. If you guys remember, just a couple of years ago, it was an embarrassment. Nobody wanted to bring guests out here. They were practically unplayable. We've gotten it back from that, but I can see it very quickly going back to that condition, and worse in food and beverage. If we were to lose Casey and all the progress we've made there. So, this is about what we should all be here for, which is to just improve the experience, playing golf here, eating at the restaurants, playing tennis, enjoying, this community that we have through this golf club. We want to do the best thing for all of us and our property values. That's another thing that I don't think the community at large that aren't members here understand, is how tied our property values are to the success of this place. So, all of us as a board have struggled over the last 3 years with how do we maximize not only the time we have left, because remember, this is why it's such a perfect storm right now, is this is coming to an end. This is a different analysis than it was, 6 or 7 years ago when Bob Husband was trying to buy the place. We're now really at the serviceable end of the lease. We've got, the course is in really good shape right now, so they're really, a prospective buyer can really see what this place could be with just a little capital, investment. We've got a change in the bankruptcy law. It's a new provision of the bankruptcy law that allows us to do some things that I'll talk about. If people really want the details, we'll know in the questions in a minute, but allow us to get rid of all successor liability. That's the goal of it. Most serious buyers of this place just don't even want to consider it with successor liability of the wage and hour lawsuits, the mid-union obligations, including the unfunded pension liability. Any of those things that come as an anvil around the neck prevent a new buyer from putting the money into the place. Obviously they want to have a profit motive. They want to put money into it, assuming that place will grow and flourish, and they will make money we will have a better golf club. Our property values will improve. It will be a synergistic effect that I think everyone here that's been a member for so long truly deserves. And in analyzing all of the different options, I really don't think the first two are viable options. It's really how do we position this place for someone that's adequately capitalized to come in, take it over, and run it correctly and invest the money that's required to improve this place, which could be such a gem. Improve the golf courses. The North should still be one of the most premier golf courses in all of Northern California. It easily could be the way it's laid out. It just needs some attention and some money. And we will never be able to do that, as a country club with the limited funds that we have available, the excessive contracts we have to honor, and all the other obligations. There is just no way. Continuing on for the next 5 years, doing what we've been doing, first of all, it won't even happen. We won't make it to the end of the lease, but it's just treading water for no reason. We've got viable options. Like I said, it's the perfect storm right now. This is the time when we're building all these new houses. We've got new people coming in that are excited about the club. We are a takeover target now if we can hand the keys over free of successor liability, and that's really what's new in terms of this Chapter 11 reorganization opportunity. So this should not be let's go attend the meeting and find out. I think as Eric started it, this a little bit of doom and gloom. I don't view it that way. I don't view it as doom and gloom at all. I view this as a turning point for this place that is a positive turning point and gets us to where we should have been a long time ago.
Yeah. And I think they speak for all of us when, we didn't join the board thinking that, bankruptcy was the option. I joined knowing it was a turnaround situation, trying to figure out how to do that. But in exploring all the options, we see this scenario as really being the best for all of the stakeholders, including the community. I was talking to a friend, we were golfing the other day. He was in the military, does some consulting, and he brought up a term that I thought was really interesting. He said what they strive for is irreversible momentum. And I kind of thought about that. I thought that's the perfect point to what we're trying to achieve here. Look at what's happening in Rancho Murieta, right? We've got a new Rayleigh's, new Tractor Supply, we've got houses being built, we've got all of these positive things going. But the one thing that can reverse that is if the center of the community, the country club, continues to deteriorate, continues to struggle. And if we get forced into a full Chapter 11, way more expensive, way prolonged bankruptcy where it could create, all these interruptions in services and things that we want to avoid. That's the thing that could reverse that momentum. But on the other hand, if we can pull this plan together and bring in a fire that just like the builders and Rayleigh's and everybody else are bringing money into this community, that's when we can create that irreversible momentum that starts to feed on itself, right? The club is getting better. There's more amenities here. It makes the houses look more attractive. As more people are coming here, they're coming here to golf, and just, these things feed on themselves. So I think this is the one piece that if we can figure out a way to put it together, as John said, that it'll be the best thing, not just for us as members, but for the community, for all of our home values, et cetera, and in terms of, really keeping things on the positive.
Let's think about the candidates. So, really the last thing we'll get into the questions here was we'll do the question and answer. The vote pretty much is going to be like we do for the board positions. We'll put together an electronic vote process. We'll send it out to everybody. We would certainly like to get that done as soon as possible. The sooner we do it, the better we get that first foot going forward. So we kind of wanted to put 3 options up there that went out in the letter, but kind of get the pulse of the room and the membership too as well before we started to craft those questions up for you. All right, with that, we'll move into the questions. And again, please, you'll give your name and your member number.
Since then, I don't change. Sure,
Thank you. My name is Gil Moore, and my wife Brent and I are new out here. We just bought 2 lots in Bay Pena, and now we're a little concerned. The option 3, I understand the reasoning for file bankruptcy, and I'm familiar with the point of concern. My question is if you file bankruptcy, why do you have to sell it? Why is that going hand in hand? Because as an investor and a developer, which I am, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole if you couldn't make a profit. Unless you use your foundation and you have a love for the game and you use something like that. But that's far and few between. If you file bankruptcy, which makes all the sense in the world to get rid of the labor issues, why wouldn't the community be able to take over ownership of this? Here's Green Bay Packers. You get the community back and look at this. We're saying that whoever that owns this property be obligated somehow $50, $75 to have their interest and have a share ownership. And then people like any of us that have a bigger concern have the ability to put in $100,000, $200,000 for ownership. And it's just that. Because I look at one last point. Before we bought here, we looked at Catadera. Now, Catadera is a beautiful golf course, no question, much nicer than the north. The north is just as beautiful, as you said, as Catadera, but we're not even close to the quality of maintaining the grounds. So we need to maintain those grounds to have everybody's home value increase. If those grounds don't get maintained and get taken care of properly, our home values aren't going to decrease. I'm screwed. I'm already committed to paying this a lot of money to build this house. But I'm thinking of everybody else in here. It's a business deal and it's common sense. The grounds need to be improved. The golf courses need to be improved. And the only way to do this is get more money in here. And I'm listening to you, and I feel for you. I truly do. But everybody in this community should be paying for this golf course to some degree.
You want to add inches of it wider out here, and this wire's out there. Those are all comments that we have been saying within the board for the last 3 years. You've seen the community meetings that have gone on and on and on with RMA, talking about looking in community center here. I mean, that should happen. I mean, this facility should absolutely have a pool and a workout facility and an appeal to a younger demographic. All of that should happen. However, we're 3 years later and there has been absolutely no movement forward on any of that with RMA. They just continue to meet and talk and talk and talk. And there is no way, unfortunately, no practical way to reconnect home ownership and ownership in the club. If we had everybody that inside the gates paying $50 a month to be a social member with right to eat at the restaurant, play tennis, and pay for golf when they wanted to play, we would have no financial issues whatsoever. But that is unfortunately not going to happen anytime in the near future. So that is absolutely something we have all talked about. It's something that would be desirable if we could make it happen, but we just cannot make it happen. And believe me, we have tried it and tried and tried. So why do we have to sell? First of all, there are so many problems with the way that we are operating and set up to function now. We have really a difficult time operating under the bylaws that we have. We're constricted at every turn. I have never seen a more inefficient way to run a big company, which is what this country club is, than having 9 volunteers that know virtually nothing about running a golf course volunteer their time and give them 1 or 2 hours a month to making big decisions about, an $8 million a year entity. It's silly. And so then it requires that you have really good managers, and they seem to come and go like a revolving door. So nobody is really running the club. So any option that continues the status quo It's not a very good solution. We've tried that now for more than 25 years, and we've gotten ourselves into this position. Really, what we need is an outside entity that knows what they're doing, a Troon, whoever it is, that can come in and knows exactly how to take because this isn't unique. This place is not unique in terms of where it is. Most clubs are aging. Most clubs are having these same issues. But again, this club has some unique characteristics to it. Not very many places have a 36-hole golf course. Not very many places have this kind of a close-knit community where everybody drives their golf carts to it. I mean, it's really unique, and it's really attractive to a professional company that knows what they're doing and can come in and run a place. So the only way, again, this is different than the Bob Husband deal that people were around these 10 years ago. Remember, he was going to buy the existing club with all the existing problems. He would still have to answer to the members. He would still have had to have done a whole bunch of things he would still have to answer to the unions. Our solution is to put it into Chapter 11. This is a new Chapter 11, which is a reorganization. It does involve us ceasing to operate. We do have to present a package to the bankruptcy court that says, here's all our operating capital, here are our few assets. One of them, and really the main asset, is our lease and our right to continue to operate here for 5 years, and our right to purchase for the next 2. That has some value. We have already negotiated at an arm's length transaction with somebody who wants to buy that. We throw that money into a pot. Our bankruptcy lawyer tells us he puts together a package. What's unique about this Chapter 11 is the creditors have no say. There is no creditor committee. There is no delay that's usually caused by all of your creditors getting to say how you operate, and a trustee that comes in and operates for you. None of that occurs. What happens is they put together a package. We say, this is how much cash we have. Here are our liabilities. Here's why we think, you bankruptcy judge to wind up our successor liability, because if we don't sell this and do it now, in 5 years it will be worth nothing, and we will have nothing to present, and then we just go away at that point without having any say-so in our destiny. Again, why this is the perfect storm, the perfect time to do this. We still have enough time in our lease to make it worth some value to somebody who wants to buy it.
Well, is it yes, Carol? Is it both questions? It is Carol.
Okay, but that's an all-encompassing answer to the bankruptcy.
Deal down.
What's that?
Carol, it's current to sold deal down.
Yeah.
Carol is here tonight.
Yeah.
There she is.
Okay, let me answer that.
Carol, what's the question?
They're wondering if I turned the deal down. I have not. Let me tell you where I come from. I've been a Baltimore member here since '78. Moved into the community, raised my kids here, built the equestrian center across the street. We built the hotel, we built the shopping center. I don't think we're giving developers a bad name, because I love this community. I've been here forever, and it's home to me. I do spend a lot of time in Texas because that's the cutting capital of the world, and I have cutting horses, and I take that very seriously also. But let me tell you, I need your trust. We have talked to some amazing people about buying this facility and making it better than we'd ever dreamed. But we have to go through the bankruptcy. We have to eliminate some of the problems that we had before with buyers that were interested. And we also need to build more homes in this community to support this. At one time, we expected to have another 1,400 homes here to support the South Course. And we don't have those homes. We don't have those rooftops. And the shopping center needs them too. I promised at least 800 more homes when I talked to Rayleigh's into coming out to build that. They're doing well without those homes, but Gulf isn't. We need more people. We need more support. We need somebody that that loves golf as much as John Sullivan, who was my late husband, one of them. And my business partner of 50 years. Oh yeah, I got him. Anyway, we are not going to let this community down. This has been my life's work, and I have wonderful partners. Tom Durant, my daughter Erin has stepped in for me in John Sullivan's place, and a few other people in the community that love what we're trying to do here. And I'll tell you one of my biggest frustrations. When we bought the club, I walked in, I had bought this amazing chandelier for the entry. And I'm sitting there talking to somebody about, this isn't great, we're gonna start right here, we're gonna work it, and we're gonna redesign this, and we're gonna do this. And I don't know who the lady was, and she's probably here, said to me, you are fixing this up, and you're gonna want more rent, and we're not paying it. So if you want to see the chandelier, there's now 2 of them in my spa in the hotel. Anyway, so it's been years that I really wanted to be able to move this forward and really felt like we couldn't. And now we have people that want to help us do it. And I need your support to get more houses built. I need your support to trust me to get the right people in here to do the right thing. I love this community. I love all of you. And thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you very much. That largely remaining off a great good word, and appreciate all the work the board has done. Appreciate the effort that's trying to be made to make this thing go forward. There are a couple of things that I wanted to bring, not necessarily in board's attention, but the community. The fact is, this community has over $1 billion worth of real estate invested here. $1 billion is the value, actually around 1.2 billion in what we have. And so those people who don't seem to be interested in what's going on have no concept of the fact of how their real estate is affected by all this. And so the issues, actually, I'm going to just stick to the question concerning the bankruptcy of what we're doing, because we could get off on all kinds of tangents. But the primary thing that I'm concerned about with the bankruptcy is, 1, how much is it going to cost? And 2, what odds do we have of winning? Keeping in mind, and I know you all have, we have a little bad guy out here called the 12th Circuit. And they're the ones that are going to end up listening. And so when I hear of the success of 11 and the 5, those are Midwestern. How do we look at this through the state of California? And that's one of the issues. Second is, be able to get somebody to come in here. You're going to have to solve the water issue before you do anything. Now the water issue may take care of itself. But then in addition to that, how do you move over into the union? Well, I don't know how many of you have fought unions before, but and this is a very fighting, expensive proposition for me to send to. And as far as voting on it, I will not be interested in voting it until I know how much in the boss and what the success will be.
Those are great questions, Ted. So we have actually hired a bankruptcy attorney who's been providing us with counsel. He's really well-known bankruptcy attorney, Russell Cunningham. He's advised the board. Another really interesting aspect to this new provision of Chapter 11, Sub 5 is under the old method of doing it, You know, if it's bigger bankruptcy in a big company, it's $250,000, $300,000 undertaking minimum, and then you're in for a big fine with all the creditors, especially unions, to get out. Here, he's asked for a $50,000 retainer, thinks it can be done within the $50,000. Again, it's not a long process because creditors have no say. It is a plan that is put together just by the debtor, us. Presented to the bankruptcy court, and the court says yes or no. That is not a long undertaking. The unions and any other creditors will have a right to have their say, have an objection to our plan, but it will be decided in you know, what's normal litigation terms really quickly. Chances of winning, you are right. You pointed out that this is a relatively new provision of the law. Having it applied to successor liability and unions has been done now under this provision of the law in 2 other jurisdictions, not in California. So it has not been done in California. However, Russell Cunningham believes that you know, he has this is a perfect test case for it. If it's ever going to happen in California, in the Ninth Circuit, we have a really, really strong case for it. If it doesn't work, we're 5 months down the road. We've tried to do it. We've spent $50,000. You know, we're looking at a $700,000 loss next year. I think $50,000 to try and rid ourselves of all successor liability and have an opportunity to then sell the place to an entity that can improve it is worth the risk. If we are unsuccessful and the judge says no, or there's some other way that we are not able to do it, then we're really no different than where we are. Then we only have 2 options, not 3. So I see really no downside to trying it and doing our best, putting our best foot forward to make it happen. We would not sell the lease. The lease sale would be contingent on approval by the bankruptcy court. So we would, you know, we would lose nothing other than $50,000 by going down this route.
And if I could address the union question, because I'm sure it's partly what you're asking about, but I'm sure it's going to come up. So I also think we're in a great situation because the union situation has changed to a degree. I mean, first of all, we don't employ that many people in terms of, you know, the total number of, you know, employees that the unions represent, right? So in terms of the personnel, it's not a huge number. Now, the big thing that's been the challenge is the underfunded OE3 pension obligations, right? Now, when Bob Husband wanted to buy the club, I think that was a little in excess of $4 million is the number that I remember that went around. Now, I had said at the time, I've said all along that I think a lot of people don't realize that actually it's just a time value of money math equation. It's not realistic. So what happened is following the financial crisis, the Dodd-Frank Financial Regulatory Act changed the ways that private pensions are required to do their accounting. So it used to be, you know, pension would bring in the money, they're going to invest in stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. And they would assume a 6% rate of return, let's say, and then they would assume that they're going to earn that over the life of, you know, the employee and all the way through when they're funding them. Well, because there was a concern about private pensions overestimating that number, therefore reducing the amount that the employer had to attribute, right? You can see why they want to do that. The Dodd-Frank Financial Regulatory Act changed it so private pensions, not public, so when you hear about CalPERS at 7% or CalSTRS, they can still do whatever they want. They can make up numbers. But in the private sector, you had to assume a rate of return that was a blend between government bond rates and AAA rate corporate bond rates. So if you go back when Bob Husband was looking to buy this place, that rate was about 1.25%, right? And interest rates were very, very low for a long time period there. Well, any realistic financial analyst knows that that union pension fund is probably going to earn 6%, but if you assume they're only going to earn 1.25%, you take a 20-year-old employee who's got a life expectancy out to 80, you're looking at 60 years. That difference, which adds up to a whole lot of money. It was my belief that the underfunded status of the union pension would come down as interest rates went up. I can't give you exact numbers because it's very hard to get from the union. We have two options. We can go to them, we could pay them $500 to get a non-binding estimate, or we could pay them like $25,000 to get an actuarial estimate. Or we're not paying $25,000, but we did pay them the $500. I was disappointed to find that they said they could only provide us with numbers through the end of 2021. Now, the interest rates hadn't really been moving out of that, but in 2021, the underfunded pension obligation was $2.2 million. That had fallen almost in half. Then, as I was working on our financial review for the end of 2022, they are required to provide us with information. And they provided information that at the end of 2021, their pension funded status was yellow, and at the end of 2022, it was green. Both unions have a pension status in green, which means they're within 20% of being funded, right? That was the end of 2022. What's happened this year? Interest rates have gone up and the markets have gone up, right? Stock market's up 20%. So I think we also have this great opportunity that I would not be surprised if we had actuarial numbers right now that we either don't owe any underfunded pension, or if we do, it's very small, and it's probably a small enough number that as a, another creditor where they will get, a high percentage on the dollar, that we're probably not really a target that's worth fighting for them right now. To save a very small number of jobs versus the cost of litigation, and to try and make up what is probably a very small number, if any, in terms of underfunded pension obligation that we have them. And by the way, that underfunded pension obligation is all math. We've never missed a payment, right? It's an hourly payment that we pay in based on the hours of the union workers. So it has nothing to do with us missing contributions. There's only two ways that pension can be underfunded. One is the time value of money equation due to the current interest rates. And the only other way is because of union's mismanagement of those funds.
The CIC or goes over to CSD. At CSD, I was at the firm Las Vegas, and the sales leader that
He's saying something that it goes over to CSD, and CSD has, well, one, I would expect the CSD is dealing with a similar thing with the change in interest rates, right? Because it's going to be the same type of equation. But our bankruptcy, it affects our OE3 employees, and it will not impact CSD or their underfunded obligation.
But CSD was.
I'm not necessarily off.
Right here. We are Virgil and Lynette Flores. We're owners of Real Estate Risk Management and Insurance Services. And we're lot number 564. What I came here to hear tonight, after 29 years in this community, is Carol Anderson, the greatest lady, the greatest family that created this entire community, has come here to say that she's with us. They got vested interest here. The equestrian center, the shopping center, homes, new developments. Do you think Miss Carol Anderson is going to allow this country club to sink? No, she's not. So we have our ace in the hole. Number two, the laws have changed. When they came at us in 2007, when we were in the defined benefit plan with all of our employees, and we couldn't make the payment, my wife Lynette went to Washington and worked out the solution and saved our company. We can work with that. But the final point is this. We have the diamond in the rough that you're talking about. Right now, I talked to realtors this week who said, if this went down and we didn't solve the problems, the home values would be decreased by 25 to 40%. That's the national average. Now, we're not going to let that happen. We now, right now, we have the capability, we have the capacity, we have the brains, we have Carol Anderson. We can do this. All we got to do, put the team on the field and win.
My wife, you know, all people. My friend.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Les Clark, 1705, been here since 2000. I wanted to make a more comment and question, but I'll have a couple of follow-up questions. Does everybody realize how this golf course, how these golf courses are irrigated?
It's different.
Every time you flush your toilet, every time you turn on your faucet, all right? This entire community needs the golf courses in order to get rid of this wastewater. It has no other way to do it, all right? So if for some reason the golf courses were to go quiet for a short while, CSD has to come up with an alternative to dispose their wastewater. All right. When I moved here, social membership was part of the house purchase, and we moved into full golf. But I've also been a director on the board of supervisors, the CSD, and I'm a registered professional civil engineer, and I was involved in the master planning of this community. So my question to this board is, have you approached CSD on partnering with the value that is provided to the entire industry in funding the wastewater disposal entity that this golf board is providing? That's one question. Have you approached RNA? All right, and the other building entities here to get them to partner with an understanding that they have a financial obligation to pay for the wastewater. Oh, and by the way, Bowie's great operating engineers on training center, they flush their bugs. Right. So rather than, and I applaud the ideas of standing alone and trying to solve the problem on your own from an everyone. But this country club is the heart of the community, okay? And so you have to understand that land value is absolute, right? If you have to go to CSD and develop an alternative wastewater disposal system, it's going to take years because with the environmental impact study that's to be done. If you try to suspend that wastewater disposal for a short period of time, you're going to have significant environmental impacts that have to be studied, evaluated, studied, and determine what those impacts are. That's going to take a long time. The solution needs to be a community-wide solution. Okay? So I understand the idea of the bankruptcy, the subchapter 5 bankruptcy in order to buy the town to us. My limited, very, very limited understanding of subchapter 5 is restructuring debt, that non-expunging the debt. Now, if that's not the case, that's all that we're expunging the debt. That makes the purchase of the golf club, the sale of the golf club, much more expedient. I think that's great. But if it's just restructuring the debt and getting 3 to 5 years to pay it back, that's going to be a problem. And so, that's really the question. And so I got
So you're correct. It doesn't technically discharge our debt. You can't do that as an entity. What it does, though, is wipe away any successor liability to a purchasing entity. That's why we would cease to operate and a new entity would take over free of all of our successor liabilities. We, the country club, would cease to operate, but it would always exist as a shell with its liabilities hung around its neck. But it would no longer operate. Going back to our first issues with the water, there's no intention to cease operating at any point or to not continue to take the reclaimed water. This is where it goes. the golf courses have to have it for water. In fact, it's one of the few competitive advantages that a new buyer would have is they don't have to pay for water.
That's
Hi, my name is Steve Booth. I'm a social member here at the club. I just want to add a couple of thoughts in terms of perspectives. Clearly, we've got a problem that we need to address, and the board may have come up with the most viable option that you're recommending. I want to point out the fact that Operating Engineers Local 3 pension funds built this facility. As a retired OE3 manager, I recognize that fact and want us to think about that as we contemplate and come close to stating some disparaging remarks about the unit. The second thing I want you to think about is that we have employees here, and there is no guarantee that those employees would be hired or retained by the future buyer of the country. I don't know that there's any way to negotiate a guarantee of that as you seek a sale agreement of the lease and whatever other holdings the country club has. I would certainly recommend that being investigated on behalf of these employees that no one has mentioned tonight. No one has recognized tonight. And if that's not feasible, then I would look to Ms. Anderson and other business people in this community to reach out and guarantee those people they still have jobs in this community if it comes to that.
Mike Martello, 424. First of all, you guys have a very difficult job. I was on the board for almost 12 years, over 37 years I've lived here. And up until about 2007, we had the money problems. After that, we did it money problems. So I really praise you guys trying to find a solution. My comment is two things. To me, the only natural buyer should be the community. We should demand RMA take a vote of the community. I think we would be better owners of this country club, and there's more to it. It would solve the wastewater issues, what Clint said, which is very true about people that are not members get to flush their toilets for free in their warehouse businesses. But I think we've done a really, really good job for the last 40 years of making this place very, very special. You guys have done a marvelous job, like all the boards before, of trying to hold on to what we had, trying to keep this place special. So there's no criticism to what you guys are trying to accomplish. It's all different. But I really think that the RMA should put that out for a vote. They should be the #1 person to be able to purchase this property. A minimum, the community is going to have at least $4 million with additional park fees coming to this community as we build new houses, plus some other fees that are coming. Carol's done a marvelous job at the property she's owned. It's kind for new ownership, new blood, new money. I think what Ted Hart said is $1.2 billion worth of property values right today. You add another 800 to 1,000 homes. Place is going to be special, but I think the community needs to have an opportunity to purchase this, to be a player to this thing, and before we go to another entity, I think the community, I think the RMA should put that out for a vote to give the community an opportunity to be a player in this thing. Thank you.
So that is brought under the year of meeting. And Scott Adams, Scott Adwin, and basically explained the challenge with that, which is to change it for RMA, it would mean 60% of the rooftops to vote yes. And currently RMA can't get 60% of the rooftops to vote. So I think we all up here agree with you, Mike, in terms of that would be the best option. We've gone round and round. We work with RMA CSD to try and figure out, what are the options here in terms of voting CSD to flip the bond, RMA to put a vote out to the community, and we just haven't gotten any traction with anyone believing that realistically we can make that happen. That's the kind of the corner that we put into, which is why we put more of the effort into finding other options.
That's the real quite to see.
Why
Frequency employee or where which is like feeling they set up to play. And you dug it down when they had no, that's what I was like sticking in it was grew under the result of what's beating on beat.
Can we give it a microphone?
And Mike, you know, I think that whoever and however that acquiring entity, whatever it looks like, whether it's RMA, whether it's a combination, I mean, part one has to happen first, which is for us to successfully rid ourselves of successor liability and be a clean and pristine asset, whether it's RMA taking it over, a combination of community investors. That'll be up to Carol and her partners who currently own the property, and they can decide which ownership group and offer provides the community and the members with the best opportunity to improve this place and enhance our experience one way or the other. And what's best for the whole community. She got up and told everybody that's her goal, is to improve the entire experience for not only all the members sitting in this room, but the community at large. I mean, she has a lot of incentives to do this the right way. So, we've been talking about things like that for years now. If that group can come together and RMA can actually put something together that makes sense, then that's between them and Carol and her partner.
Yeah, Mike, I want you to know that we're looking at all the possibilities. We have not eliminated any of them, and we are interviewing a lot of people that are now interested in this if it comes without all the liabilities. We love this community. We'd like this community to be whole and better, and I know you feel the same way. So we will be looking at those options, and I have to ask for your trust in that we will find the best option for this community.
Anxious. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Roger Deline. Odd 50s at 25, and my number is 7461. Thank you for all of this. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for this meeting. I just have two questions to help maybe the audience understand. All we know right now is currently what we pay in dues and our current golfing experience. Days that we can golf, times we can golf. If we choose number 3, which is something that seems to be the best choice to me, what kind of guarantees or what can be guaranteed that our experience will continue as we're accustomed to, or do we have no control over that? That's the question.
Well, I think it's partly, as Carol said, there has to be some degree of trust that we're going to find, she's going to find the right buyer that's going to invest and improve it. But I think in looking at it, like, I know there's a lot of concern that, okay, well, what'll happen, to dues? Well, when we do a survey of all the local golf courses, we're comparable, right? Which tells you that it's the market supply and demand that's determining what a country club can charge a dues. And every time we try to, raise dues, we see membership go down that next month, right? So there's really not, I think, for a new buyer, the ability to raise dues in any significant way. Maybe some, if it comes with, significantly better entities, then maybe there's a little bit of pricing power. But I think the bottom line is it's, where we're at and the supply and demand of what people are willing to pay to be a member of a country club, not just here, but across the greater Sacramento community. That what you're paying isn't going to change that much. And as I said, from an economic standpoint, any buyer could be crazy to raise dues before they get to full membership, right? And once they get to full membership, they don't need to raise dues to make a decent return. So, that kind of gives you an idea of the position that we'd be in. But the challenge with this process is we will have very limited input. right, on what the new buyers will be. They'll get to start fresh, it'll be their asset, and they'll run it the way that they think will be most effective for their return on investment, to put out a good product, to increase membership, etc.
Thanks.
Hi, Susie Pierce, 77720. My question is, can you talk to me a little bit about the process? So let's say we go with option 3. What's the timing on that? And what happens in the meantime?
A good way to.
So timing is as soon as we get a vote to go forward, we will give a retainer to the bankruptcy lawyer. He will start his due diligence period immediately. He says it'll take a month or 2 to go through everything he needs to go through and understand the finances of the country club and the plan that he would put together to present to the bankruptcy judge. Let's say worst case scenario, that takes 3 to 4 months from when he's hired, presents it, and it's probably another 3 months from there before we would have a ruling by the bankruptcy judge. So, optimistically 5 months, pessimistically by the end of the year, we would have a decision on this.
To the one team, I said.
Great. Do we continue as we have been through the process?
Oh. Yeah, the whole point of this is to try and preserve the value of the asset so that it's a win-win-win for all parties involved. And so we would continue to operate. Obviously, we need to maintain the courts and bring in membership dues and everything to be able to afford to do that, to keep this asset in as good a shape as possible so that, it's a benefit to all the parties involved.
Hi, Pat Ruby, 6980. Is this like a simultaneous thing where we need a buyer to have the bankruptcy approved? And what happens if, we are bankrupt, you're no longer an entity, who then takes care of the courts?
Be what with photos. Why not?
Who takes care of what? I didn't get the last.
Who would take care of the courts?
Right. So we're trying to do this in a way that there is no transition period between the ruling by the bankruptcy judge and a new buyer stepping in. We would continue to operate until we have that ruling from the court. Given the timing that is 6 months down the road, and the fact that Carol is already in negotiations with prospective buyers with the assumption that a reorganization finding will occur, they'll be ready to go, on day 1, and there won't be any downtime, at least with preservation of the course, maintenance of the course. So that's the timing that, again, and the Chapter 11 being us being still able to control our own destiny and continue to operate the course makes this unique.
Then you still cut.
Did that answer the question back there?
I mean, basically, we've got, people don't always understand that. We have our lease with Carol's company. Okay, so the lease we have goes through October of 2028. Nobody can buy this thing as long as we have the lease. As long as we're sitting on it, we're in control, as long as we can stay in business. So you in essence have to get into the bankruptcy process to where then the lease can be bought out or go away, and then they can become into a position where they can actually sell it to somebody else.
Hey, there was a question a little while back about employees. I have employees at the Equestrian Center that have been there for 35 years. We love our employees. We try to take care of our employees, and we will try to keep the employees here going on into the next buyer. We don't want to stop anything that's going on. We're going to keep this rolling like there wasn't a transition, except that we are really looking for somebody to come in and make some big improvements. And I think I should tell Mike that the people that we're talking to are talking about coming in and doing some pretty big things with swimming pools and the things that wives are now looking for them and their children. This used to be a men's, they used to come in and they play golf and who knows where the wives were. But things have changed. We have a great junior golf program here, but we could have swim teams. We could have a lot more going for what the wife wants to be here for. And I think that's just going to take more employees, not less. So yes, we do honor our employees, your employees, my employees, and we will try to make this a very smooth transition for everybody.
If I may, I have a question, Carol. I'm familiar with bankruptcies. I built a big company, I had trouble, and I worked more than I wanted to. Bankruptcies usually come with dismantling of the assets, and any buyer comes in and wants to make a profit. And you ask us to trust you. I've known you for a long time, you don't know me, I do trust you. But my concern is my wife and I get ready to build a big home here, that we don't want to see the assets dismantled. Can we ask that from you?
No one wants to see these assets dismantled. We want to make this better for everybody that's been here and been the heart and soul of this community up until now, and we want to bring in more people that will support this community, support our golf course, support other amenities that we plan to add. And this is not going to be easy for anybody, and probably mostly not me. But I think we've got to get this done, and we've got to move forward. Times are changing, and we got to keep up with it. And we want this place to be successful, something we're proud of, and something we want to bring our friends to. And let's all work together to get it done.
Good.
Date of birth 77996. We're new to the community and we moved here for what Rancho Murieta is. I mean, we never knew it existed until some friends would carry me here. We're like, hey, we have to move here. You know, I still don't understand the way the whole thing works. I'm trying to learn as I can. We've been here a couple of years. Some of the things that concern me, and again, I am not against development, but we talk about building more houses and everything here, but yet I see the houses that come in here, the people that move in, you guys already said it yourselves. They're not golfers. So, you know, if we build 1,000 more houses and 1,000 of these people have no interest in the golf course or this, how does that help us in any way? I mean, to me, it seems, again, I don't know how it was set up. I'm still trying to figure all that out, but why did we not require, if you moved into a golf course, if you didn't do the two beautiful golf courses, why do you not have to pay a bar to keep that operating?
And again, and as John said, you know, we agree with you on that, right? But that, in terms of the people having to fund it, even new development, that would have to go to RMA and that whole process. In terms of, you know, what we're seeing a lot of is, in terms of existing development, we have about an equal number of people that are golfers moving out of the community that are moving in, right? In terms of new development, we've captured about 20%. Obviously, we'd like it to be higher, but you know, to your point, if we build 1,000 new homes, that would be, assuming the averages hold, which they may or may not, but assuming the averages hold, that would be 200 new golf members. We'd be full. Right now, I mean, a lot of what we've done is focus on trying to bring in members from outside the gates as well, which I think is a huge untapped. The number of new members we've gotten from Elk Grove, which actually surprised me, right? I thought, oh, we're going to target south of Folsom, we're going to target El Dorado Hills, Serrano's got a waiting list, all these other places have waiting lists. Let's, let's target the broader area, but by doing a radius is actually Elk Grove, where we brought in most of the new members, and I think there's potentially some big untapped markets outside the gates as well to get to that, full status if we had the time and money to be able to continue to invest in it. We just started this process too late.
To make sure everybody for talking, you will be this one people Corey in the signature. Well, that
It's a big conversation and keep going through. My name is Marilyn Howard, P162, and I kind of see a lot of stuff my neighbors are loving and probably interested in that. Read all this stuff. We don't know what's true or not for so many groups. And to Carol on exit. Oh, you feeling him? Did he let it out? No. To Carol. One of them was that you had yet like sale, center for sale and also Murieta Inn. Is that right or not?
All right, so point board, this is not the forum to figure out which rumors online are true and which are not. This
It's not going to talk.
we've been trying to deal with all the rumors online.
Okay, but I think this is important. Because some of the people that have looked at coming into the country club would also like to buy the hotel. Because, and maybe the lots next to it that, we have 24 condo lots. So there's some improvements that can be made there too. The Westgate Center, at some point, is getting donated to the West Coast Equine Foundation. They run it for me now. They do a great job. They do sponsorships for kids for college. They just do a lot of great things in the equestrian community. And if something happened to me, I don't want it to disappear. So, no, that is not for sale. But there may be a possibility that this and hotel and the condo lots may all be something that would work better together.
Very close.
Here, thank you.
Going back to taking out what you want to do, of course, and like your cow announcement and for the social membership, I think that at least every person that lives in the community should be required to at least be a social member if they don't want or whatever. I think that the husband should be required. A woman should be required to be. The developer should know that this is going to be the way it is, and if the developers don't pay for it, then the people who buy the house, you get too old and you're
sounds like the nut deal.
No, we agree with that. If there was a way that we thought we could get there. In fact, Eric at one board meeting came with a great idea, said, hey, can we go back to the vote that happened 20 years ago and check the legality of it, see if we could pseudo overturn it? But obviously, that's not viable. And again, the community, I mean, if you're like me, I'll tell you, in my old neighborhood, we had to get something passed in the HOA. We had the same challenges, very low voter turnout. Now, the neighborhood was about half the size of this, but a big group of us got together, went house to house, and we got it done, right? But this was something that we could clearly show people that it's in their vested interest. Someone who doesn't have any association with the country club and is not interested in having any association with the country club. I'll tell you, I've talked to neighbors, I've talked to other people, you try and talk them into it, they're not interested. If I believe, even if we got everybody in this room and say, go knock on all your neighbors' doors and get them to vote, and we'll send out the petition, go over there, ask them to fill it out the way you want. If I believe that we could get that done, that's what we'd be trying to do right now. But from my experience at networking and talking to people, I'll be honest, I don't believe we could be successful.
But anything this day forward, anyone that works in, anyone.
But again, we don't control the lots, we control the rules. And why would a developer just choose to give up that value, to add an additional cost to those lots? Just to appease us, we don't have any authority for it.
this is what makes their homes valuable. And going out to people who don't live here, you're bringing in people who don't live here through the security gates. Does that make me feel less secure? I don't know. I'd rather have my neighbors pay. Since they live here, they should pay. You know,
Yeah, so basically, you have to understand, so Rancho Murieta Country Club is a corporation. All right, so we have the legal ability to revoke things on the rest of this committee. By the guidance of our bylaws, we can do what we need to do. But we can't do anything on the masses of people that are part of a homeowners association, nor can we invoke anything on the CSD, which is a government recognized special district. So we in essence don't have any power in things that, and we all agree that's the way it should be. We just don't have the ability to get there.
Eric, before we lose everybody, I have a question. Warren, or John, I think you said this may be Fern Wallace, I think it's 1612 forward in there. I think. Don't go back. But I think I understood you say that the bankruptcy may be carried out to the end of 2020. Possible?
I don't know if this is possible. I'm Chino the lawyer. We usually respond to giving a large range, so I can't be held in anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that question goes in with the question number one, or proposal number one, put us running out of money when?
Yeah, that's for them. It's probably June 2024 if we did nothing.
Right, okay, I understand the bankruptcy, go for it. Let's say the bankruptcy takes longer than June to go into effect. What's the carryover from when we run out of money until the bankruptcy takes effect?
Yeah, I mean, even if we go the bankruptcy route, the truth is we're going to have to try and run as late as we possibly can to have as much runway as possible. And hopefully we have a few other items coming in. We still have a couple of small insurance claims out there. There's still potentially another quarter of the employee retention tax credit money. So that could give us a little bit more runway as well. You know, I think there are some places that we could cut a bit to get, you know, even the end of the year. If it runs a whole year, that could be tough. That could be tough. Now, a lot of that's unknown. That's going to depend on how much stuff breaks, to be honest, right? I mean, if we don't have a boiler, gosh, the number of pumps that we've had to replace, either because of storms or just, right? So that's going to be, there's a lot of variables there, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right, I understand. I was on the board many years ago and wasn't worried about the rough and all that way back then. Oh, I did it, that's good. But if we go over that period of time, they're talking about maybe some cuts. Would you come back to the membership and answer more for us?
Yeah, the only, per bylaws, the only way that we come back to the membership for additional funds is a once every 24-month emergency charge, which can be no more than 1 month's worth of fees.
Right. You've already done that once, haven't you?
We have done that.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, that's the last resort. Okay, there are people starting to head out.
Yep.
I just want to ask one question here, and we'll get back to you. I'm not saying we'll cut the questions off. I just want to ask a question while we're here. By a quick show of hands, how many people would be reasonably in favor of the bankruptcy process at this point? Okay, thank you for your listening. Appreciate it.
I'll be quick. David Boss, 1514, 35 years. We came here for all the reasons you all did. I don't think RMA could buy this place, so let's kill that idea, only from the fact that I even worked for a year on the swimming pool thing, and we got nowhere. That was 3 years ago. We can't be organized on the RMA side. We have the $4 million we got, let's improve Rancho Murieta in the community and have the investor entrusting the Carroll Ward to get the investor in here that's going to make this thing right for us. That's what we're doing. So
I respect those that want to keep it in the community, but we can't, and I'm not degrading anything of RMA or anybody else, seriously. I could never do those jobs, ever. But it's too hard to corral all the cows in this pasture. So I think if you trust Carol, and she has all her invested interest, and she wants the swimming pool, and she says that they're going to possibly get in here, then let's invest the $4 million we're going to get from all the fees that are coming into improving the community at large, and let's close down this deal to keep that up. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, now let's
Hi, my name is Cindy Frequent. I'm a newer member. I haven't been here for 30 years or anything like that. I've been here for 4 years, but I'm a realtor. And I've been an insurance agent for 28 years, and I've lived and worked in the Sacramento community for a long time. My statement or question is, for all of the people in the room that stood up and said, why don't we have a vested interest in it, or why can't we have ownership in it? You absolutely can. You can form a group that comes together and you guys can make an offer on and present it to Carol. Is that her name, right, Carol? Okay. So my point is, in meetings like this, a lot of times there's a lot of fervor. People get going saying, we want to own it, or I'm an investor, or I'm a developer, I'm a builder. Come together, use this forum to gather and connect with other people, and it may end up being that you guys can form an investment corporation, and you are able to own it, and make choices and decisions based on being people that live right in the community. Because I am also concerned that people outside have a bed. I've got kids at home still.
Yeah, that's a great point. Many of you may recall last year when we did our survey, that was one of the survey questions, right? If we converted this into an equity ownership, how much would people be willing to pay in? And we had like 5 or 6 different tiers, check all that apply. And we ended up with a pretty good response rate of the survey. It was over 50% of the membership. And even assuming the other 50% would have voted the same way, we were miles away from where we would need to be to not only just be able to buy out the lease, but feel the improvements that we want to see, right? So this is not something that we just all of a sudden decided, hey, let's go down this path. And we've explored all of these other options, and whether it's been surveying the members, talking to the RMA, CSB, et cetera, where we finally kind of worked our way down the funnel, eliminated the ideas that didn't seem feasible, and come to what we think is the best solution.
I've been asked to make a correction on my statements. I did not mean to imply that RMA board is a bad board or ever has been. What I've tried to say is that we as the RMA have a terrible time organizing ourselves as a community to allow the RMA board to move forward on some of the projects. My frustration of the swimming pool and that sort of thing. So I wanted to correct that, and I did not mean to imply that. My arm was being twisted, so I thought I'd better get that out in a hurry.
All right, so I would add that we've heard the comments about possibly a wire that we would put a community center, put a swimming pool in, and that sort of stuff. If that sort of work and infrastructure takes place as part of this country club purchase, the people that are members of this community will get on board support because they'll want to use us. It will solve itself, basically. Okay, do we have any questions out there that have not been asked? Okay.
I have anything to, first of all,
Gotta hold it up.
the chapter, and I believe it's 14, correct? Or chapter 11, open 11. There's a few of them, guys. There's a few. Well, that is okay. Your issues with both the union and your debt.
Yeah, that's the whole point of doing it, is to get rid of the successor liability for a humanity first.
Okay, and it'll also get rid of your omnibus, correct?
So I want to be clear because it's a technical thing. We are not going to be able to discharge any of those debts. This entity will still sit there with the debts. However, whoever acquires the assets, the infrastructure, the golf courses, will do so free of all those liabilities. They will get them free of those liabilities. That's why we would do the bankruptcy.
So Pago will basically, your issues with Pago will, for the most part, go away with this mayor, is he correct?
Well, the issues with MAGA have gone away with our settlement. Now, how that settlement is funded will be part of the bankruptcy. However, this entity will cease to exist, will have no assets, so they won't, whatever they get out of bankruptcy, when they get out is all they're going to be fit.
Okay, and those are, what do you think actually gives you the opportunity to go forward? It gives an opportunity to start anew, right? Like Carol, it sounds like she's the one back here in all of this, correct?
Anyway, that's exactly correct.
Okay. And have you guys at any point looked at proprietary memberships?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, what do you mean? What's your definition of proprietary membership?
Proprietary is membership ownership. So, I just, for instance, and Del Hassan has proprietary memberships, but they're proprietary because the land also owned by the members, which is different here, right?
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. Is that was part of the survey that we put out asking members, but they would be, proprietary equity ownership to be able to buy out the lease until 2025, and we have the lease option.
Joe, but they all got
So on that is that all this, you also have
Oh, yeah.
but we're so far out of any realistic number that the members, so if they, if you took, each amount, the number of people that were willing to use each amount, I mean, it was being half of where we reached, and we needed to start a conversation. But it was in the survey last year, and like I said, over 50% of members responded to that survey, so they did a pretty good season. And even if we assume that the other 50% would have responded the same way, right? So that we had that large number, I decided that this was not even thought.
Are we in the I don't know. I mean, I find it hard to believe in this community that there are people here that have the need of this. I mean, I'm sure people have a proprietary So right now, the bankruptcy and then one for the proprietary bank. Are there any corporation that would
You can ask.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we tried exploring that route. We thought it was a viable option. It could be, and then there was no indication that there was any way that there would be it.
I'm a great business strategist. That's my day job. I could be in the deal.
I would too, but not large enough percentage of what they're carrying.
How much money and how much of that? This number of listening.
If you want to have this conversation outside, it's getting loud. We're obviously target here. Or chase on the side. People are reluctant to have that ask because that's how it's supposed to start. You're not going to this and then so you have all those members in here that see it. I'm not going to do that.
So there's no attachment.
So it gets thrown in and it gets in the way of the all right. It sounds like we lost me, but I don't know. Do you have one that now these have yet? All right. Oh, who gets to vote? So the question is, who gets to vote? Again, I think sure everybody in the room has the bylaws memorized. So yeah, if you are a golf member, not prospect is not a golf category or a membership. So all the golf members get full votes. All the social members get sort of one. All right, with that, thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Sorry.